I actually typically wouldn't get this close to a buffalo. I'd probably just get a little farther away, and then I'll always keep one person in between me and the large animal. That way, you know, if there's gonna be any sort of aggression and contact, you have another human to kind of give you a barrier. Now it's officially Brewski 30. Cheers, everybody. Today is May 24th, 2024. It is the start of Memorial Day weekend, and I'm going to be doing a 4-night, 5-day backpacking trip in Yellowstone National Park. I'm going to be heading down something called the Black Canyon of the Yellowstone River. It's up in the northern part of the park. Right now I am down in West Yellowstone, waiting on my good buddy Bob to come pick me up. He's gonna do this trip with me. We gotta head into the park, stop and get our permit, and probably take us a couple hours to get up to the trailhead and get started. Now this area we're going into, it's the lowest elevation in all of Yellowstone, and right now it's really the only place not completely covered by snow. And so it's the only place we can really do a backpack for more than 1 or 2 nights. And the idea behind our trip is to kind of have a low-key vacation style trip down the canyon and hopefully see a bunch of wildlife. The Black Canyon is well known for lots of wildlife, especially early in the season, like right now. And we've already seen there's a bunch of bear warnings for all the trails we're going to be hiking on. The park has even closed a few campsites down near where we're going to be camping because of bear activity. Don't know the scoop on that, but sounds kind of exciting. So gonna wait for Bob to get here and then get this adventure underway. So the cool thing about Yellowstone now is they have this backcountry situation report where you can kind of get an update on all the conditions in the park and for the trails. And so I'm gonna scroll down here, check out the northeast section, and you see we have this guy, Blacktail Creek, Yellowstone River, Black Canyon. Check it out. Closed. Campsites 1Y6 and 1Y8 closed due to bear activity. That was just from a few days ago. Bear frequenting area warning for the Blacktail, Yellowstone River, and Hellroaring Trail. So we're gonna pay attention to bears. Looks like we have a few small creeks we gotta pay attention to. Cottonwood Creek could be rising. We'll definitely get our feet wet a few times. And then we have another bear warning for the Hellroaring update. You can see another campsite is closed. Doesn't say why, it just says wildlife closure. That was from 2 days ago. And we're gonna be camping on both sides of this campsite in Hellroaring. So there is Old Sage, as he is forever now known. The Sage of Backcountry Post. You ready to go see some bears?
You bet.
Hello there, stranger. How are you doing? All right.
Is that it?
Yeah. Let's hope we make it back. Friends. We are almost to our trailhead, and we're stopping along the road here. I'm going to zoom in. If you look right up there, it's a big grizzly bear, and he is eating something. All right, we are here at the Hellroaring Creek trailhead. Permit in hand. Go over this later, but they have this map right here. I'm gonna show you what our plan is to start. Right now, we are here, the Hellroaring trailhead. This little red line's the main road that goes into Tower Junction down here. And so our plan today is just to hike in a few miles. Gonna cross the Yellowstone River on a bridge, and then we're gonna go up Coyote Creek Trail to this guy, 2C1, and that is our first night's camp. Now, normally, in the past, I would do this route by going outside the park and around Bull Mountain to get over here, and 2H9 is our second night's camp. However, the floods a couple years ago washed out the bridges up here, and there's no way to get past Horse Creek, which is this guy up here, so we can't do this time. And so on day 2, what we're going to do from 2C1, we're just going to come a short distance and then drop back down, cross over, and come up here. And then on day 3, we're going to come down, and as of now, we're permitted to stay at 2H1. We do have phone service in here, so we might be able to call the backcountry office and change our permit if we want to change anything as we go. It's not a lot of people out here for Memorial Day right now. Day 4, we are just going to be cruising through the Black Canyon of the Yellowstone River. We'll be right alongside the river most of the way, and then we're going to come all the way down here to 1Y1. This is going to be our last night's camp, and then on day 5, we're going to backtrack up to here, the Blacktail deer trail, and we'll take this all the way up here to finish the trip. Now here's a good look out towards where we're headed. That is the Yellowstone River. You can see way down there. We're going to cross that on a bridge. And then Hellroaring, coming in through that gap. That's Hellroaring Mountain right there. You can see we've got a little bit of fresh snow up high. Our first camp tonight's going to be way up that way. And then we'll ultimately kind of be heading that way. One minute down the trail, and here is a fresh pile of bear scat. But it's not really surprising. There's going to be bears probably everywhere. We had a pretty exciting drive to get in here to the trailhead. We actually saw 4 grizzlies. I didn't even get my camera out to capture the first sow with cubs, and it's actually 13 grizzlies I've seen driving around Yellowstone the past 5 days. So the bears are definitely out. Made it over here to the Yellowstone River, which is running down in a deep gorge below us. Get out here on the edge, try not to fall off. You can see that water is just roaring down there. And we have a suspension bridge to cross on. We actually are gonna cross on this one to start, and at the end of the trip, we're gonna have another bridge over the Yellowstone to finish. No way to cross this without a bridge. We have made quick work of the Coyote Creek Trail, and we have reached our first camp of this trip. It's kind of sitting down here in this hole. This is campsite 1C1. And you can see Bob's already thinking pretty smart, carrying some firewood down to camp. Okay, we have made it down to our first campsite. This is Coyote Creek camp number 1. I think it's called 1C1 on the maps. And it's not a very big spot. You can see it kind of sits down in this hole. Coyote Creek is just to our left here. The trail, a couple hundred yards up to the right, away from us. And fire rings way over there. You might be able to see Bob kind of way over in the corner, hanging his food. That's where the food pole is. We'll cook our food over there and then sleep right here. This is really the only flat spot to set up the tents. And how this works in Yellowstone is you have to stay in designated backcountry campsites, and you also have to have a permit. It's kind of a big deal. They will definitely write you an expensive citation if you don't have a permit and you come out here and camp. But the good thing about camping out here is when you get a spot like this, it is just one group per spot at pretty much every backcountry campsite in the park, except for maybe 1 or 2. So we're gonna have this place to ourselves tonight. Here's a quick look at my sleeping setup. I am using a new tent. This is my good friend Kat's Big Agnes Copper Spur 2-person tent. And it's very roomy. I love it. You can sit up in it. It's got a bunch of pockets, 2 doors. I am gonna put the fly on because it can rain at any point tonight and on this trip. And then I am using a 20-degree quilt. This guy is made by UGQ Outdoors and I love it. It'll keep me warm. You see I have a nice air pad here. This Thermarest X-Therm has a nice R value. You can see it's pretty thick and that keeps me up off the ground. So that adds a lot of extra warmth to my sleeping setup. And then I've stuck my backpack underneath it to kind of prop my head up. I'm gonna put all my extra clothes right up there to work as a pillow. And that should make it pretty comfortable. I'm gonna take a quick look at Bob's setup. He has a brand new pack.
Brand new old pack.
What kind of tent you got there? It's a Henry Shire tent, isn't it?
Tarp tent.
Tarp tent. Rainbow?
It's bowfin.
A bowfin.
Bowfin, which they don't make anymore.
It's a 1-person tent, I'm gonna assume. Take a look in here.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe fit 2 people in there. Do you need a trekking pole to set it up?
No.
No, it's freestanding?
Yes.
All right. And
I don't use trekking poles. So it'd be waste.
And then what kind of sleeping bag are you using?
Western Mountaineering.
Ooh, top of the line.
Down.
Classic sleeping bag. Looks like the antelope, huh? Probably rated to 15 degrees, 20 degrees?
Yep, 20.
You got an X-Therm sleeping pad as well, huh?
Mm-hmm. And dolphin pillows.
Oh, wow. All right, we have got the tent set up, and check it out. Another wildlife sighting, and this one is right here in camp. That is a bull elk, just starting to grow his antlers for the season, and there's actually a bunch of elk over there. They're kind of hiding. That one doesn't seem to be afraid of us. Even though we both brought sacks, still gonna hang our food. We have the option to do both, but a little safer. We pull the food at least 10 feet off the ground, 12 feet's even better. You wonder what Bob does in the backcountry at night. Calls his wife. right now we are here, 2C1. I apologize, my map is a little ripped up, but basically camped right along Coyote Creek. And the plan today is to move over to camp 2H9, which is really not that far away. It's right on Hellroaring River, maybe 2 miles. We're gonna backtrack a little bit and then cross country down to the Hellroaring Creek bridge and cross right there and then go up to camp. And then we're gonna have the option to also hike up another 1.6 miles to the park boundary. There's another campsite just outside the park overlooking the river. So we could go up there and camp. Don't need a permit to camp outside of the park. One last look down at our campsite, and you can really see how it sits down in this hole. And not a whole lot going on other than some river noises and some protection from the weather. Dropping down towards Hellroaring Creek now. There's like about 600 feet of off trail. You can see it's very open in here. There's kind of game trails everywhere. It's not too hard. That's looking across at Hellroaring Mountain, that guy up there. So you can kind of see the canyon. You can see Hellroaring Creek down there. And if you see that patch of grass over there, it's essentially where we're headed. We just got to get across the river, and there's no way to do that without getting to the bridge. All right, we have made it here to Hellroaring Creek. This is our bridge. It's going to take us over to the other side. And see, the water's pretty deep. It's not running as fast as it's going to here in probably a couple days next week, but it's definitely moving pretty good. I doubt we could cross it. And one thing to pay attention to is all the flood debris that's everywhere. Look at all these logs. You see them all piled up along the shore, and look at that guy. If the water comes up anymore, it's probably going to lift that guy up and push it on down the creek. What's interesting is, look around, you can see all these logs. It's all flood debris everywhere. And 2 years ago, a big flood came through here and ripped a lot of these bridges out. I don't think it took the one out that I'm standing on, but it must have got pretty close, because that log, I don't remember that log being there, and that's almost up to bridge level. Here's a nice little bear track. We have reached our campsite. This is number 2H9. It's the farthest one back along Hellroaring Creek. And the reason I picked this spot is because it's the only place along Hellroaring that allows fires. So someone's already collected some starter firewood for us. Here's a good look at Hellroaring Creek right in front of our camp. And it's actually not really roaring like it usually is. I would say kind of low water still, and surprisingly so for all the weather we've been having, but not as much snow up high this year. You can almost cross right through here. All right, this is gonna do it for night 2 here along Hellroaring Creek. Pretty quiet evening. Here's a good look at Hellroaring this morning. Looks like it might be moving a little faster than it was yesterday. Rained overnight, pretty much the whole night, off and on. It is the start of day 3, and the plan today is just to follow Hellroaring Creek down to where it intersects the Yellowstone River. It's only like 4 or 5 miles, so another super easy day. We're gonna camp down there at campsite 2H1. It's right on the junction, so it's gonna be a pretty loud camp tonight. All right, funny little side note. Yesterday when we passed this sign, we came into Montana, it was down on the ground and the entering Montana part was broken. And so sometime in between hiking up here to our camp and now hiking out, we're talking like less than 12 hours, someone's come up and put in a new sign. And now we are entering into Wyoming. You can see the entering Montana sign is still kind of broken, but they fixed it a little bit. Now, Yellowstone National Park is actually in 3 different states, if you didn't know this. It's in Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho. But the vast majority of it is in Wyoming. Our camp back on night 1 along Coyote Creek was like up there on that bench back in there. This is how we came down to get to Hellroaring the other day, yesterday. It is already brewski 30 here in the Hellroaring, and got our first buffalo sighting of the day. And it's kind of funny, it's a fluffy cow beer day anyways. So park regulations state that you must stay at least 25 yards away from buffalo. And right now we're probably about 35 yards, maybe 30 yards away from this guy. And we're just gonna give him some space, let him move off. We don't wanna get too close. Really just never wanna stress out animals, especially when they're bigger than me. So we're just gonna hang tight for a second, see what he does, and then try to give him a wide berth and go around.
This guy's coming right up the trail towards us.
See the buffalo down there. We climbed up above them, giving them a wide berth, and they're gonna reconnect to the trail here in a second. And that's the thing about all animals, especially when they're bigger than I am. Give them respect, give them space. Almost all the time, they don't mess with you. All right, we've made it down here to the junction of Hellroaring Creek and the Yellowstone River. That is Hellroaring coming in right there. And that is the Yellowstone River. All right. My beer did not pop. That is a problem. I've never in my life had a beer not pop open when I twisted the tab back. Look at this. So it is almost brewski 30 once again here in the Hellroaring, and behind me here is actually the Yellowstone River. We've made it down to our camping spot. We got to pick a spot to set up the tents, but I'm thinking right here on the beach. I'm going to show you what the view looks like in a second. Hellroaring Creek is right behind us. Yellowstone River is coming in this way, and that is the official start of the Black Canyon. And that's what we're going to be hiking down the rest of the trip, basically. I've done this trip every May for like the last 10, 12 years, maybe even more. And this is the lowest I've ever seen both these rivers in this area for this time of year. So either there wasn't a really big snowpack this year, or it's already melted out. Anyways, that is Hellroaring Creek coming in right there. And that is the Yellowstone River. Bob's up there taking a photo. You can see the food pole above him. So it's where we can hang our food, and then there's plenty of camping spots back behind that, but I don't know, that looks pretty sweet right there. Hard to beat a view like this. Wanted to borrow Bob's knife, but he wanted money, so I'm gonna try this little elk jawbone here and use one of the teeth to try to puncture the beer can. Right. Now it's officially brewski 30. So right across from us on the other side of Hellroaring Creek, there are at least 2 bears walking around. There you go, you can see the other one up to the right there, just came into view. And they're pretty far away. I really can't tell if they're black or grizzly from this first view right here. It almost looks like they're black bears. They're cinnamon colored. And oftentimes people mistake cinnamon colored black bears for grizzlies. The color of the fur doesn't really matter. It does not reflect if it's a black bear or grizzly. But you can see how far away it is. Alright, here's a quick look at our camp. We have set up kind of out of the wind back behind the junction spot. Our food pole and where we were standing earlier down by the rivers is right below us here. So you can see we're a ways behind where we're gonna eat dinner. And then those bears, they're just hanging out on the slopes across the river from us. They're not gonna come over this way, but we might get to see more of them later. Campsite 1H or 2H1. So tonight for dinner, I'm gonna try something new. I got some rice and couscous cooked in bone broth and sea salt. This has already been cooked, so this is actually pretty heavy. And it's got 11 grams of protein in it, 450 calories, so that's it's pretty good. Got some butter, and I'm also gonna mix in an avocado. And right now, how I'm gonna heat this back up, I put a little water in the pot. And so it's gonna heat the water up, and I'm gonna dump the rice in there, let it warm up. I'll drain the water out, and should be good to go. Bought this at REI. All right, taste test time. And good news is I have an extra meal, so if I don't like this, just eat something else. The avocado tastes great. Can't speak so much for the rice, but the avocado kind of overpowers the rice. So does the butter, so 5 stars. Want to try some? No? Anyways, dinner tonight, I got some pudding for dessert. And of course, you see, always make sure I pack out anything that I have left behind when it comes to cooking. So I'm actually going to pack out my avocado pit and shell and everything else. So anyways, dinner. Plan for today is just to head down the Black Canyon. I actually lost my map, so I can't show you what we're doing, but essentially we're gonna be climbing up the start. We'll have some really good views looking down into the canyon, and then we're gonna drop down right alongside the river and follow that down to our camp, which is only 5 or 6 miles away. Told you this was gonna be a vacation style trip. Very short days, but it's actually been great. We've just been enjoying it. Closer look at the Yellowstone, and the water is super cold. I keep putting my feet in here, and I can only keep them in here for like a minute before they start going numb. A lot of people have drowned in this river. It's like the leading cause of death inside Yellowstone National Park, drowning in either Yellowstone River or Yellowstone Lake. You can see how swift the water is. There's rapids and big boulders all the way down. Plus, the water temperature is super cold. You get hypothermia usually within a minute of being submerged in the water. Your muscles start to lock up. You can't use them anymore. You can't swim, and then lights out. Your history. So, definitely don't want to fall in the water here. Here's a pretty nice elk skull with both his antlers. Pretty old guy, but we will be seeing a few of these as we go down the Black Canyon. the problems with hiking in Yellowstone early in the season is it gets very marshy. And in one of those sections, we're in one of those sections now. It's just nothing but marsh out here. The trail is going right through here and it's underwater. Sometimes you just got to get the feet wet. We've made it to campsite. What does that say? 1R3 sits up here on this knob, and this bison is about 25 yards away from us. So this is about how far the park suggests humans, us, stay away from the buffalo. Give them space. So you can see this guy seems really calm right now, but it's probably because he got a good night's sleep. Still, I'm not gonna go over there. I actually typically wouldn't get this close to a buffalo. I'd probably just go a little farther away, and then I always keep one person in between me and the large animal. That way, you know, if there's gonna be any sort of aggression and contact, you have another human to kind of give you a barrier. Oh, I'm just kidding. Uh-oh.
I'd say he doesn't care anything about us.
We're starting to get good views of the Yellowstone River again. See it running down there below us. We're slowly working our way down there. This is the lowest part in Yellowstone. We're starting to drop down under 6,000 feet, getting into the tick zone, and kind of feels dry and hot. We are headed that way. You see this big meadow out here. There's a campsite here and a campsite there. Coyote Creek is coming out in there. And it's a really good place to camp, but we wanted to go deeper into the canyon, get closer to the bridge. So heading that way, gonna be dropping down to the river right now. We have made it to our campsite here at 1Y7. And this grassy bench right in front of me here is where we're going to set up the tents. All right, we are getting camp set up. You can see we have an incredible spot. We are right on the Yellowstone River. Nice little grassy bench to set up on. I'm trying to dry out. My sleeping bag right now is a little damp from this morning. A lot of dew in the morning. I'm definitely gonna put my fly on. But you can see we are right alongside the river, which is awesome. So it's a little different here than like in Glacier and other places where when you have a designated backcountry campsite, usually you have a tent pad, and that's where they want you to set up the tent. But here in Yellowstone, basically can set up anywhere you want to. Now, park regulations state that you should be at least 100 yards away from your food, both where you store it and cook it. And in this situation, we're more than 100 yards away. But that is what is cool about Yellowstone compared to other parks. Say in Glacier National Park, if you're gonna stay in a specific or designated backcountry campsite, there's a tent pad. And usually there's a bunch of groups there with like 8 or 9 tent pads, and sometimes they're right next to each other, and that's where you gotta camp. Not here. Of course, we are setting up out in the open right where all the animals walk, including the buffalo and the bear, so we'll most likely be coming from that direction. We'll hit Bob's tent first. Here's a good look at the river right in front of camp. We came from back around the corner that way. You can see the river looks much wider than it did at our camp this morning. Here's a look at the map this morning. Right now we are here, 1Y7, right along the river. Today we're gonna be hiking out all the way up to the Blacktail Creek trailhead. It's about 5.5 miles. We're just gonna continue down the river. Then we're gonna cross on a big suspension bridge and start going up the Blacktail Deer Creek Trail to get up here. And then Cat is supposed to pick us up about 2 p.m. Here's our morning look at the Yellowstone River, which is still running pretty strong today. And beautiful cliff bands. I believe that is all basalt. All those tube-like formations in the cliff. All right, we've crossed the bridge and are now starting to climb up to the trailhead. It's about 1,000 feet of elevation gain, so a little bit of a bump, but we got 4 miles, so shouldn't be too hard. Lots of wildflowers. All right, Bob, what do you think? Final hill of the trip.
Almost done.
Almost done. We are 1 mile from the finish and we're at a little trail junction. That is Rescue Creek Trail, goes that way. You can take that essentially almost down to right where the north entrance is by Gardner. As I swing it this way, you can see how wide open everything is up here. Not a whole lot of trees, lots of sagebrush. That is looking back down in Black Canyon. We came from right up in there.